Welcome back to the Mobile Mailbox Money vlog. Here today, we're in South Scottsdale at Fox Cigar Lounge. Here today with Sean Gibson.
Yes.
Appreciate having you here today, Sean. A lot of
Right.
deals going on.
Ton of deals.
Need some update.
Yes.
People got questions.
Yes, absolutely.
We've done a tremendous amount of transactions in the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Hadn't had a check-in
No,
here
for a
at
while
Fox
now.
Cigar
It's been a while.
Fox Cigar Lounge. Hadn't had a check-in in a while.
Yeah.
So, Sean, appreciate having you here today. Shout out to Fox Cigar Lounge and the Stickman Cigar Club. If you're looking for a place to network and get together with local business professionals, that's a 20-member cigar club that's currently activated. So shout out to my local members as well as the individuals that we frequent with. People do business with the individuals they know, like, and trust, and that's kind of what that fulfills. So, Sean, appreciate having you here today.
Yes, I think I'm the one asking the question directly. You know everything already. You're knee deep in Mobile Mailbox Money, Super Opportunity Fund, and Mobile Home. So I'm asking questions. But I want to say, first of all, I'm happy today because you just signed a contract on a new unit in Glendale, Arizona that I found. So cheers to that.
So we got a new acquisition going on. I was telling Sean, we're shopping like 3 to 4 deals a day right now. We don't buy everything. It's important to pass on deals. But if you're not making offers out in the market, you're not in business at the end of the day. So it's important to make offers, even if they don't make sense for the individual that's receiving them. If you make enough stupid offers, call it, enough lowball offers, you're bound to find a gem at the end of the day. So we've consummated a purchase potentially today. We've agreed. We've come to an agreement in Paradise Groves, lot 155. We're buying that property, I think, at $15,500.
Yeah.
Sean will make his commission. We'll probably have an all-in cost of about $25,000 to $30,000, and hopefully exit that property at a $65,000 to $75,000 seller finance exit.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So tell everybody what's going on. Again, I would say peel back the onion because no one gets to see really what happens in their real estate investor's life, especially in your niche space. So what's been going on in your three hats you wear? Give everybody an update.
We're still buying right now, looking for those good deals. To be a buyer in an uncertain market, brings opportunity at the end of the day. We've got, I think, 3 closings that'll take place on Monday. So 3 of the 40 homes that we have currently available right now, those notes have been absorbed already into the fund.
Right.
We got a $500,000 investment about 2 weeks ago from a accredited investor who will earn a 10% return for a 1-year term paid monthly or a 12% return for a 3-year term paid quarterly, backed by 30 positions currently performing in the portfolio. So we've taken investment, we've committed to a couple sales, we've committed to a couple purchases. Deal flow in a uncertain financial market is tough to find at the end of the day. So to be able to cultivate actual deals that turn a profit at an above average return is like, diamond in the rough right now at the end of the day.
So you're in the manufacturing housing space. So right now in Arizona, traditionally, it's been a little slower in the summertime. So what are you guys kind of doing to combat that slowness? People are going back to Canada, going back to my hometown, Minnesota. People are going back to the Midwest, and that older population kind of slows down until September, the airtime. So what are you guys doing to kind of offset that?
How to cultivate a year-round business is of utmost importance, and we've pivoted over the past 3 years into more family parks, which is a year-round clientele. Most communities, mobile home parks here in the valley are 55 and older. That comes with its seasonal environment, whereas family parks, people are really buying year-round in most cases. So we've made that pivot. that was an important decision at the end of the day. We started at 55 and older and have now branched our relationships to be able to provide a year-round potential clientele, which provides more notes, more transactions, and more stability within the transaction, year-round at the end of the day. So that's an important one that we've pivoted recently. I think we have 15 to 20 all-age manufactured homes currently for sale in Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, and Glendale. So that was an important one over the past couple of months.
Okay, so I'm going to ask everybody else talks about it. Every question I always get, what happens if you have to take back a manufactured home? That's the big question that I always get. People, our economy's crazy. Gas is $4.60 a gallon. Inflation's up. What happens if someone loses a job and they take back one of the units? Does it happen? If it does happen, how do you guys deal with it?
If you do enough business, at the end of the day, there is risk in investment.
Absolutely.
And it's important to understand the metrics and bells and whistles that are provided with purchasing a note from us at the end of the day. We don't leave an investor high and dry. We provide them an at-cost service to repossess the unit. A personal property unit in comparison to a single-family foreclosure processes is entirely different. A repossession could take from first non-payment to repossession and retitle could be about a 40-day process. So, much quicker of a take back of your collateral at the end of the day. Listen, are we in the business of taking people's houses back? That's not the case by any means, but this is a business. This is an investment. And to know that there's checks and balances in place that actually rival single-family note investments or foreclosure processes, I think that's a big eye-opener for a lot of individuals that may be shopping the opportunities that we have available. To know that manufactured housing is actually appreciated and out-appreciated single-family residents since 2019 is an important factor. So you could make additional profit potentially on a repossession. Does that happen all the time? That's not the case. There is risk in investment, but to know that you're at the top of the capital stack and the last to take a loss within the equation is of utmost importance. So that comparison between single-family foreclosure processes and a repossession, as well as a potentially appreciating asset, or a tight and cyclical processes to repossess that asset and put it back out on the market at an at-cost basis, it's really unseen throughout the market at the end of the day. Most people will sell a note and leave that individual to their
Good
own
luck with that, right?
weapons. You go call any attorney, they're going to want a $5,000 retainer at the end of the day. Our eviction cost is like $750. You talk to a real estate agent that has nothing to know about manufactured housing. They don't know how to conduct a transaction. They don't know how to do the title transaction, or really how to market it on the regular basis to actually get a buyer for that specific type of asset. Those are all tools that we bring to the table at the end of the day to service our investors.
So you do so many different things people don't know, but one thing that I'm kind of curious about, so you've got like a new strategy with not affordable housing, but retirement housing of some sort with your smart desk. What is that about? I have no idea. I know it's a huge opportunity, but you can expand on that. Smart desk, right?
So, we've combined a strategy of potentially independent living with some care services provided. I've partnered with a senior placement specialist and certified nurses assistant placement business. I forget what the terminology is of that business, but they place CNAs at properties to be able to have and care for senior citizens that ultimately don't fit the bill for full 24/7 care within their environment. They really just need someone to check in, distribute medication, and make sure that they're okay, kind of peace of mind. We've combined those two strategies in manufactured housing. So at, say, $3,000 a month for a room rental, a senior citizen could rent a room and get 3 days a week of a 4-hour block with a certified nurse's assistant to come in and either take them to the grocery store or distribute medication, provide some, just companionship at the end of the day. Really, peace of mind is what that is. And for the people that are looking for assisted living, their cost comparison in a shared room in these same markets is actually $3,500, including food and excluding medication. Whereas at $3,000, they get their own room. They do get dedicated one-on-one care from a certified nurse's assistant, and at $3,500, they get to have the whole home. So they get the whole home in a 55 and older community with agreed upon care services from a certified nurse's assistant to come through the house. It's like a 50% savings.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, from a true assisted living facility in that same area. And those homes and solutions are being offered in Glendale and Mesa currently. So we're testing that market. We do have already the agreed upon rates from the service provider who places the certified nurses assistants, to have one payment where they pay for care and housing, maybe in their desired area.
Right.
That seems to be a revolutionary potential idea. No one's really done that. Most people don't have the connections for the institutions that own mobile home parks to be able to facilitate this type of program. So kind of combining multiple strategies in one to fit a much needed program at a less than what they would receive, with 24-hour care at the end of the day.
Right. That's a phenomenal program. So we were talking to an investor here a little bit ago, and he was talking about development, buying a piece of land, getting it developed, going to the city, the county. They got to go. It's a 2 or 3 year process. Why aren't more people just buying manufactured housing or working with you? Because there's a double-digit return. You don't got to find the land, develop it, go to the city, build it, wait for it to sell. Why are people just buying notes from our manufactured housing? Why it's not a space everybody knows about?
I think most people are stuck on a sweat equity program. And they don't understand really how much work goes into procuring a potential return on investment from, say, combining a new manufactured home with a lot, developing that lot to facilitate a home. That could be a year and a half process. On top of that, most people are too busy or don't have the connections to be able to facilitate real return on investment out in the market and make a satisfactory return. That's a full-time gig.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, if you didn't know that's a full-time program, you got to have your contractors in place that aren't going to get arrested the night before you start your rehab or, buy it at the right price. Most people don't know how to operate like that. That takes a full-time education and really to press your pawn forward at the end of the day, real capital and risk. That being said, an individual could position themselves at the top of the capital stack and ultimately buy a note, a performing position at a double-digit interest rate outside of complications of maintenance, management, insurance, and taxes, and not have to develop the opportunity. They can pitch their card to a qualified operator and just take the cherry pick off the top.
Right.
Listen, how many flips have gone into the negative or didn't earn a double-digit interest rate? It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a guaranteed win. Where this, in comparison, you have an agreed-upon rate. You step in at a consummated, qualified, and cash-flowing position, and ultimately get your agreed-upon return outside of having to take time away from your friends and your family and your business or the W-2 that you're ultimately obligated to. Most people don't understand that that's an opportunity available. Why? Because it's not readily available. This is the strategy that the banks and BlackRock and Vanguard don't want you to know about. Your financial advisor doesn't want you to know about these opportunities. Your real estate agent doesn't want you to know about these opportunities. They're going to show you potential for return on investment, but that risk is yours. Where in this comparison, you step in where we've taken all the risk, we've put in all the bells and whistles in place for you to step in and make an agreed upon return. To me, if I had $40 to $1 million, that would be an opportunity I would be exploring, to say the least.
So I work with a lot of our investors, and I've been telling our investors right now since all the whole Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. You're buying most of the notes, aren't you buying a lot of your own notes now that you're creating?
So
your strategy now, or
the fund,
or can a small guy get a little piece too?
the fund is 2 years out of its infancy. We have $2 million currently working in performing seller finance notes. My objective is not to sell another note ever again, and you can help me facilitate that by investing in Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. But we do enough business. We have enough transactions for non-accredited or really just investors that are looking for a singular lien position within their entity name that want to buy a note. Either buy a whole note for the full yield for the 20-year term, or we pledge that one asset in order to garnish capital investment for a 1-year term at a double-digit interest rate where we guarantee that position. So for people that are watching that may be non-accredited or accredited, we have notes that are immediately available at mobilemailboxmoney.com. Over the past 2 weeks, we've sold out.
Yeah, you have.
God is good all the time. Many blessings, to say the least. But, as we continue to develop this strategy here in the Arizona market, we'll have that many more deals and hopefully that many more potential opportunities for return on investment for capital investors.
So right now it's almost June. I think we talked, it was almost December. So what's your goal for the rest of the year? Right now it's going to be hot summertime in Arizona. What are your plans for your 3 entities going forward until the following year? We're almost halfway through the year.
So,
any projections, plans?
A couple items on the docket is to acquire more family mobile homes and family mobile home parks. My objective in the fund is to get at least $5 million in performing seasoned seller finance notes where I can go re-leverage those positions with a bank at like 8, 6, 8, 9% and double our portfolio overnight. That's a objective. And just looking for maybe other operators in investor-friendly states that need additional gas for their seller finance transactions to exit and redeploy and continue providing bank quality returns and bank quality paper in those markets from potentially Florida, Texas, and potentially California, Nevada. Those are markets that we're actually eyeing to take to the next level. What does that look like? We could help you, sell the notes that you're originating at a discount, or ultimately, help you put those processes in place to make the notes actually sellable. It took 8 years in this business to figure out how to get a licensed mortgage officer, a third-party underwriter, coached by an SEC arbitrator, to get to the position that we're at. This is a brand. We're building the brand, and I've been asked multiple different times of what other markets that we're going to. This is it. We're at that next level to continue to grow and continue to raise millions of dollars in niche market manufactured housing.
So I'm going to go more towards the manufacturer on the asset because we've got a lot of people who love fixing and flipping. So I heard you got a new partnership with your contracting team or roof team. I heard, but obviously all look great. But tell us about your new contracting team you kind of partnered up with.
So through Business Network International, where I'm a member of B&I Connectors. We're one of the largest groups of an international referral network marketing group. We're one of the largest groups on the West Coast. Excuse me. I think last year we did $11 million. Over the past 5 years of being in BNI, I've done about $4 million. So that's close to $1 million a year. We'll probably hit a third of that just this year. With that being said, I met Russ Hyman through Business Network International and Patrick McNamara of Griffin Roofing and Construction, where we formed a formal partnership with them to provide more velocity. So they'll be providing construction at cost. They're financing the construction, and we take an equity split on that transaction, ultimately to get more velocity within our market. So hopefully within the next year, we'll be doing about 10 homes a month. That's about 120 homes a year. At $100,000, you do the math.
Right.
You know, that could be an $8 to $10 million
Exactly.
velocity. And not only are we exiting those homes, we're exiting seller finance, which means more notes coming to the platform.
Yes. So now I'm going to go back to the Mobile Mailbox Money note side. I've got a lot of note investors saying, hey, I love to buy your notes, but I want 50% off them. So where do you discount your notes? If you do, or do you not? Do you discount your notes?
So over the past year, every note we've sold has sold at above UPB.
Okay. Why is that? Why don't you discount your
In
notes?
layman's terms, that means we sold them at greater than what the unpaid balance was, which means they sold at a premium. So there's investors that are willing to buy a consummated cash flowing, Dodd-Frank compliant, bank quality position. Why is that? Why is an individual willing to pay that rate?
Right.
It's because the processes that we go through and the brand that we have. These positions are not just, we don't just sit down at a table and sign a napkin on a loan at the end of the day. These individuals go through thorough underwriting to facilitate the financing. It's actually 2 rounds. And in comparison to a residential real estate note, it's actually qualified that much more than a real estate note because of the specific requirements regarded in niche market manufactured housing. So they know where to go for benchmark real estate notes paying above average returns. It's tough to line up liquidity and deal flow. Listen, you can go buy a note from Joe Schmo in New York, and he's got 1 note available, but we've got 5 to 7 every month. So for someone that may be raising capital or a hedge fund, or someone that's just parlaying family relationships, or really is trying to get into raising capital, this is where they find above average returns at the highest in the capital stack, being firstly positioned with Dodd-Frank compliant, fully qualified, underwritten borrowers that is unseen anywhere in the nation. You can't find positions like this on a regular basis outside of mobilemailboxmoney.com, and I swear by it.
Well, that's awesome. I don't want to. I can ask you questions all day long. It's our first and second segment of the summertime. I'm gonna call it summertime segment, but we're gonna block off here. But what are your last words? You've got some of these going. You're raising capital. You're going to conferences. You're acquiring properties. You're selling notes. You're doing everything. What can you say as we sign off?
You know, Silvercrest has the want to establish trust out in the market, and we did that by being the main corporate sponsor of Arizona Real Estate Investors Association.
Right.
Their main meeting is second Monday of every month. This month on June 8th, Jeff Watson, one of the most prolific private lending attorneys, is coming to the meeting. So I encourage you to attend. You know, come out, check out our booth, check out Jeff Watson, say hi to Mike Del Crete, who owns Azria, and, you know, just check out the environment. On top of that, you know, we are accepting capital investment at all times in the fund. You could buy a note, non-accredited, or you could invest in the fund today and start earning interest in as little as a 30-day program. You know, we got deals. We're shopping deals, we're buying deals, we're selling deals. This is it. This is the pinnacle of a Warren Buffett investment strategy, outside complications of landlord and tenant, becoming the bank, quite literally stepping one step closer to financial freedom, the definition of financial freedom, stacking cash flowing assets and earning an above average return. I don't know anywhere else you can receive items like that.
And I'm making a plug for myself. If you look online and go to mobilemailboxmoney.com, or you can call me specifically, Sean, at 602-882-4838. That's my personal cell phone number. I'd love to get you a great note that we'll return. We'll do all this.
We have the Stigman Cigar Club. Feel free to inquire about that today. We'll be doing a co-branded event with Arizona Real Estate Investors Association coming soon. So, that's just the fruits of what it looks like to be connected here in the Valley in Arizona. We appreciate you watching today. Thanks so much. Y'all have a great one.
Great day. Bye notes.